When I came here, the second month I was here, I remember saying to myself, there is so much work to be done here. This hospital went from being one of the best teaching facilities in the area to literally almost closing its doors in bankruptcy. And even though it was challenging when I got here, and I thought, oh, I'm not sure I can do this, I say to myself, why can't this be the best hospital ever? And why can't everyone give of themselves? And in many ways, we've been able to achieve many of the goals that I set out for over 4 years ago. But we're not quite there yet.
Years back, I was diagnosed with a very rare syndrome called Wolff-Parkinson-White, which, in a nutshell, makes me susceptible to high heart rates. That morning when I woke up, the back of my neck started getting real clammy. I called the ambulance, and I said, yeah, I called you. Listen, I have this condition. I don't know what it is. I just don't feel right. Take me to the medical center.
Coding is the term that we use. It's short for a code blue, which is when somebody has no pulse or is not breathing. So in Mario's case, it was both. So he wasn't getting enough blood to his brain, which stopped his breathing.
I blacked out, and I recalled hearing the door open as I was getting pushed through, like metal hitting metal almost.
As soon as the gurney hit the doors, his heart stopped. I kept saying, this can't be happening. He's way too young. The head of ER had come over to me and explained it to me that his heart had stopped for 23 minutes, and I'm screaming, 23 minutes? That's not good.
When a patient goes into cardiac arrest in the emergency room, it's all hands on deck. The situation was grave.
The truth of the matter is that most of the time, people don't survive these sort of incidents.
He was in a coma for almost 3 weeks. They said that they have this hypothermic machine, and what it does is it freezes his entire body to make sure that in the interim, nothing else was damaged.
As we hook up the IV lines, we'll start infusing cold fluid that's at 4 degrees Celsius, which is about the same temperature as your refrigerator.
I remember Mario. He had a really, really serious condition. A couple months later, I was making rounds over in physical therapy, and I happened to bump into him. And I was so gratified to see him come from what I thought was a dire situation in the ICU to a full recovery.
It was almost like I just woke up into the middle of a conversation, like I had been there all along. I'm a pretty religious guy. I'm not a fanatic, but it wasn't a miracle. It was just good science.
I definitely think it's the nurses, it's the doctors, it's the medical equipment that they have, it's the round-the-clock care.
I love to see the good stories. When I hire people for my ER, I'm looking for the personable ones.
The ER kind of sees themselves as the front door to the hospital, and they see the community at large that they care for in Jersey City as almost a family to them.
I have a very loving family, and my wife and her side, but you don't actually realize it until something like that actually happens. You take a lot for granted. So, I don't take as much for granted. I'm lucky to be alive.
You know, there's 2 major organ systems in the body that use electricity for its function. The first is the nervous system itself, the brain, the spinal cord, the peripheral nerves. And the second organ system is the heart itself.
Actually, it was kind of fast and furious. 3 months ago, I started to feel like my heart was beating really fast and it was skipping beat, and it got way worse really fast. My work required me to travel a lot on a weekly or bi-weekly basis. Every time when I get on the planes, I was so afraid I was going to pass out because that's how I felt, and I was so scared.
Much like a light switch in the room that turns the lights on and off, so does the heart have an intricate electrical system, literally turning the lights on, off. She sought me out for alternative treatment options, including radiofrequency ablation. When there's a short in one of the wires, then things go awry. If you eliminate the short circuits, the heart can rejuvenate itself and return back to normal function.
I was so scared before the ablation, but all the nurses, everyone here, they made me feel so comfortable. 2 of the nurses held my hand a lot. They're so nice.
We put some small IVs in her legs to allow us to measure electricity inside her heart, which allows us to microscopically decipher and to eliminate the electrical short.
If it's completely fixed, I have no symptom anymore.
The beauty of a radiofrequency ablation is that the results should be in excess of 90% cure rate for their life in the proper hands with the proper equipped laboratory like we have here at Jersey City Medical Center. I think we really did change this woman's life for the better.
But you completely changed my life. Thank you, I really
You're
appreciate it.
very welcome. Take care.
We really have a synchronicity to what we do here. It's taking the technology, taking the loving family that we have here at Jersey City Medical Center, and the teamwork, and combining all those things to create great outcomes.
It was a normal day, beautiful hot. She was in the pool playing, and there was a platter there with a lot of grapes and stuff, and she grabbed one grape, put it in her mouth, and that's the one that went into her trachea.
We got dispatched to a choking call. We just got it as a pediatric choking. Myself and my partner, Brian Moriarty, responded. We were on Unit 451.
I was in devastation. I just threw myself on my knees, yelling, saying, Priscilla, no, don't leave us. And she just turned blue-gray in front of me. And then blood started gushing out her nose and her mouth. And right there, she just went.
They were holding up my wife. My wife was fainting. And at that moment, in my impression, I said, because I see this all the time, I said, my daughter's gone.
The EMT came, and they looked at each other like, we're going to lose her. Because the last time I saw her already basically dead.
They suspected that she was choking. They notified us of that. So Brian utilized a technique called direct laryngoscopy, in which you use a McGill's forceps, they're called. You reach in and grab the whatever the obstruction is out. Brian went in. He got the grape most of the way out. It actually slipped back in, and then I was able to use my finger and just sweep it out.
They choked grape and threw it away.
I would choke the grape, and the grape went away.
They get away.
It was nothing short of a miracle because it was everything lined up to the worst.
This was a perfect example of just everything going right.
And when the cops were driving me to the hospital, I see one of the EMT gentlemen approach me, and he goes, Mom, and with a clamp, and he shows me the grape. So I'm like looking at him, and he says, Mom, we took out the grape. I fell right there on my knees thanking God. I was like, oh my God, thank you. And when they opened the door, I see my daughter sitting up with a teddy bear on her lap.
We don't do it for the thanks. We don't do it for the thanks. We don't do it for the money. You know, we do it for the satisfaction of helping out, making a difference. You know, and I mean, these people that I work with here would trust them with my life, any one of them, any day.
I believe it's important to give back to your community. No better way to do that than to help somebody who really needs it when they're most sick and when they're most in need. And so I would ask and appeal to people to really give back to their community by giving to the medical center.